Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to talk all about small space container gardening and how much we can fit into small spaces. It's pretty amazing. And I am super excited to be joined today by Bethany. She is amazing and grows like so much on top of a rooftop. I love it. So I had to have her send some pictures. So we're going to see pictures of from her too.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
It's gonna be really fun. I know I've seen pictures of your rooftop and it's incredible. Like everything that you grow up there, my gosh, it's
Oh,
yeah.
thank you. I cram a lot of things up there.
Yes, you do, and inside too. You do a lot of inside planting as well.
That's what gets me through the winter here in Chicago.
Yeah, I know. I love following you because I get some really cool ideas for inside of our house, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm in Chicago. We're zone 6A, and probably from like November to March, I pay attention to my house plants, and then once gardening season starts going, I basically neglect them, but they survive. So
That's awesome. Yeah. So and I'm in Oklahoma City where I'm in zone 7. And so we get, even though I feel like zone 7 and 6 is not that far away, but my goodness, our temperatures are so different, I feel
they
like.
are. I would have assumed you were much warmer than me, zone wise, because it feels like it. Maybe it's the lake. I don't know. I'll blame the lake.
Are you right next to the lake?
We are. I mean, we're about like a 45-minute walk, like down one street, and we would hit the lake, Lake
Nice.
Michigan. For those not familiar with the area.
Wow, that's awesome. I love it. Oh, I see we do have people from Michigan and from lots of places around here. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. I'm so excited to see you all in the chat. I love to see everybody's comments, so make sure that you guys all hop in there and post where you're from. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. We are, as usual, going to be doing a giveaway at the very end of this workshop. It's going to be super fun. It's going to be for two winners actually today, which is really exciting. We're going to be doing a free 1-year premium from Seed to Spoon app subscription and then also some smart pots. If you guys haven't seen these smart pots, they're incredible. um, we actually just are trying these wallflower smart pots for the first time this year, and we're like, oh my gosh, they're a game changer. I love them, especially for small space for vertical growing. We have several in our sunroom hanging up, and then I have a few pictures too of where else we have them hanging up further along. And then so two lucky winners are going to get some wallflowers and also some of the smaller smart pots to go along with your small space container gardens. Very exciting. Okay, so we're going to jump right in and we are going to talk all about small space gardening. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the comment section. And I have helpers behind the scene. We have Dale and Andrew working behind the scenes, and they're going to be pulling up comments for us and popping things up. So if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to pop them in there. And each time you do comment, it's going to enter you to win also. So comment away. Okay. So first of all, I wanted Bethany to show off her area because it was so pretty.
Thank you. This is definitely my favorite photo of the back deck garden from last year.
I love it so much. So what all do you have up here?
Oh my gosh, so many things. So my growing space, we have 2 rooftop decks. They're both about 18 by 19 square feet, but the one in this photo is slightly smaller because we have a row of air conditioning units. So I try to use the flowers to hide those, but I try to cram as much as I can fit. So this, I think, was mostly flowers last year. I think any edibles are on the front deck. Last year was my first year planting anything on this deck because I was trying really hard to not take over all of our outdoor spaces with gardens. And I failed at that, clearly. So this is all flowers. I have zinnias, petunias, gomphrena. I actually think there was a lemon fruit in there. So maybe that's the only edible. I love giant dinner plate dahlias. So this was filled with flowers, and I tried my hardest to stick to a color scheme or not have a million colors, but my front deck, I kind of get a little bit more carried away. But here I was trying to make more like a serene space that looked a little bit more formal with like pinks and whites and purples. So that was my goal for this space. But I absolutely love it. This is on the east side, so the sun isn't quite as harsh, both for me and the plants. So this is where I actually hang out most of the time when I'm outside, because we don't have a yard space. So there's nowhere in the ground that I can really plant except a parkway out front between like our sidewalk and our street. So we've been here for 4 years now, which means 3 years I was sitting on my patio furniture with absolutely no plants around me, and it was so much better last year to be surrounded by all of these plants. Oh, I also have a beach plum tree that's in between the chair and the couch there as well.
Oh, that's amazing. I would love to sit up there on your rooftop. That looks
It's
so
so nice. Yeah, and the church in the background, I like this view a lot too. So it's very relaxing to be up there, even though you're in the middle of a city.
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and we get some, I mean, there's not as much wildlife that we have to contend with as supposed people growing in the ground, but we do get like some birds and a lot of pollinators up there.
Yeah, that's amazing. A lot of pests that you don't have to
Yes,
deal with.
like rabbits, deer, don't have to worry about that. Don't really have to worry about weeding because everything's in a container and nothing's kind of spreading around from nearby. Or if it does, the plants in the pot take over the pot so quickly that weeding isn't really a thing I do, which is very nice.
Oh, yeah, that is a beauty of container gardening. I love it.
Yeah, and then this photo, that is my front deck. So this is where I kind of just shove everything. So I have tomatoes, peppers. It's hard to see all the actual different plants because they're all shoved together. I have rhubarb up there, more zinnias, sunflowers, more gomphrena, some salvia that the bees really loved last year. So this is kind of my more haphazard garden where I don't really have much of a plan, or if I do, I kind of forget it once I actually start planting. Oh, this is also where I have my herb garden, which I think you have a photo of later as well. Herbs I love, especially in containers, and there's so many varieties that I grow every year. So yeah, this is my front space. It's west facing, so it's funny because my decks aren't that far apart, but there's some plants I can grow in the back deck in the east sun that can't handle the afternoon full sun. So it's been interesting just getting to know those different environments of my two container gardens, even though, again, they're not that far apart, but some things can survive in the morning sun, like hydrangeas that just fry if I have them on the front deck in the afternoon sun.
Interesting. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I love all the different flowers that you have too up front.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, I feel like, journey gardening. So when I first started, I was definitely more vegetable focused and a few flowers. And then kind of last year, I think flowers took over, and I'm trying to get more back into the mix of like 50-50 between actually
Yeah.
edibles and in my garden.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's perfect though. That way you have a nice balance this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll go 50-50-ish maybe.
We'll see. I always, like I said, I go in with a plan. And then once I actually start planting, it kind of gets away from me over time.
That's fine. I feel like that's fun to do it. I like it.
It is.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what type of containers that we all like to use. And of course, everybody here I'm sure knows my love for smart pots. I absolutely love these fabric raised beds. They are perfect for small space gardening and for like growing anywhere. I mean, you can put these on top of like a balcony or a rooftop.
Yes.
Any sort of patio, sunroom, like wherever you have the space for. I mean, we use them out in our main garden as well. They're perfect for everywhere. Oh, and I do want to mention too, before I get too far into the weeds here, pun intended there. There are QR codes on a lot of these slides too. So the slide up there next to Smart Pots, where it has that QR code, that goes to Park Seeds website, where we have all of our Smart Pots that Park Seed sells. And then there's also another QR code at the top left corner too for our app. So if you are here and you by chance haven't downloaded our From Seed to Spoon app, make sure you download that. Check it out. Yeah, super amazing. But yes, smart pots I use all of the time on our patios. I grow yeah, countless things with them. You can grow anywhere and everywhere with them. It makes the plants incredibly healthy versus like other types of containers. They don't get all root bound. They grow so great. Like they absorb water up from the bottom, or they can release it out so they don't get too waterlogged. There's so many benefits. I love it.
Yeah, these are one of my favorite types of containers. And this is very environmentally specific, I think, to where I am. But what's killed most of the plants in my garden has been root rot because we get a lot of rain, especially in the spring when it's a bit cooler. So the water isn't evaporating. So that's the main thing that kills my plants. And I've never lost a plant in a smart pot because they are so porous that they can evaporate the water a lot faster than like if I have a plastic pot. So I really love these. Also, just the cost comparison, because I quickly realized containers can cost a lot of money. And that was one of the largest investments when I first started gardening. But you can get so many of these smart pots for a lot cheaper. And I just absolutely love them. My plants are very happy in them. I grow my giant dahlia, dinner plate dahlias in them, and they're just a lot healthier than when I was growing them in plastic containers.
For sure. Yeah. And they actually they last for years too.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I don't know if I should, but I leave mine out over winter every year, and they're
oh,
fine.
yeah. Ours, we hardly do anything at all to ours. We did this year actually clean them though. We took a oh my goodness, what the water pressure hose, like we just
Don't do
sprayed them
that.
off.
I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I should do that next year.
we just sprayed them off and they looked brand new. So I mean, we've had ours for years and we're always adding new ones though, but we've had a lot of them like from the beginning, from whenever we first started gardening. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and I like the handle on these because I've used some where I think the handles are sewn on separately and they'll fall off. These are great. They look the exact same as when I got them, even though again I just leave them outside through Chicago winters.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's putting it through the test right there.
Yeah, exactly. Pressure testing.
I love it. Um, I do see a question here. Does it matter what type of surface I set my smart pot on? Can I place on a top of a tree stump, straight on the ground, on a tabletop? Yes to all of the above. I mean, you can put it wherever wherever you want to.
Yeah, I'll add too. Something I learned is because my deck is wood, I either put it on like a plant lift or a saucer with wheels for some of my heavier ones. That way it's not like just sitting on the wood deck all year round, and that has helped. But I also really love any like sort of saucers with wheels because then I can easily move my containers around throughout the season, especially once they're like filled with soil. If I'm growing large plants in them, that makes it too heavy to move on my own. So that was something that I didn't realize once I started using the grow bags. And then now kind of as I've gotten more into it, I just put something under there for protection.
That's great advice. Awesome. Yep. I love that.
And with saucers too, like you said, with bottom watering, if I know I'm going to be gone for a while, I can just fill the saucer with water and then it'll slowly absorb that way, which has been great when we're gone for a weekend.
Yeah. Yes, we do the same thing too, especially if it's like really hot and like the heat of the summer and we're wanting to go out of town or something like that. Like, yeah, we can just set them in like a little kiddie pool or, something to that effect and let them just kind of soak up.
Yeah, they're great. I love them so much.
Okay, so piggybacking off that last question, smart pots need to drain. So what is the best table to use? I mean, honestly, like I'd say whatever you would like. I mean, as long as it would, anything would let it drain out because it can drain out the sides as well. We have some on top of ones that have like little holes in them, like wireframe glass tables. I mean, whatever, pretty much anything and everything. Okay, and then I wanted to mention Vio Gardens too, because these ones can make container gardening very simple as well. If you don't have like a huge area to plant in the ground, these are great options too, because you can have a raised bed, and these things again will last for a very long time. And it was relatively simple to put together. Bethany, I don't know if you've ever used these ones before. Have you?
No, because they don't have a bottom, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
edges. Yeah, so I can't. And I almost made that mistake when I was first looking for raised beds. I've had better luck like looking for elevated beds because I almost bought something that didn't have a bottom, but I love the look of those and I wish I could have them in my garden.
Yeah, yeah. So this would be something more to put on like a patio. Like I have this like right up against our house,
Yeah,
so it would do really well in something like that. But yeah, that is a good point too.
yeah.
Yeah, these were. It was super easy to put this one together. This one is ours that we put together, and our 7-year-old helped build it. Like it was that easy.
Well, that's so fun.
Yeah. Oh, great. Cheryl loves it too. Yep. It definitely was easy to put together, and it is very pretty. Okay, so vertical growing, I feel like is essential if you are going to be trying to save space or if you have a smaller space. Any sort of height, anything that you can grow vertical will really help you out in the long run. There's several different things that you can do to grow vertical. There are Park has this cucumber trellis right here that you can kind of put in the ground and you can grow your cucumbers up and around it. There's also for the Vigo gardens too, they have a trellis system that you can put on it, and it's this arched trellis, and it just connects to both sides of the Vigo gardens, and then you can grow up and around. It not only like will help you save space, but it's so pretty. I love having the arched trellises. It's amazing.
Yeah, anything I can get to grow up, I try just again so I can fit more things in my garden. I do have to deal with wind because the deck is 3 stories up. So there are some times when I'm like a little bit nervous about my plants, although I haven't lost too much from the wind up here, but I kind of do like medium height. Like I can't go too tall, but maybe
Yeah.
like 5 to 6 feet works really well for me. So yeah, anything I can use like a cage or a trellis for. And I've learned over time to get those in place ahead of time when I plant instead of trying to worry about it later once I realize I need them.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then let them just grow up it and do their thing. Like
Yeah.
there's so many plants that will just do it themselves, and you have to do very little to help it along with.
Yeah. And I love finding anything, even kind of something out of the ordinary you might not think to use. Like I have a flower cart that I grow flowers up on that, it's not sold as some sort of like vertical planter, but I try to incorporate that in my garden too.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love that. Way to be resourceful, right?
Yes.
And then again, a few more things about growing vertical. There's the pole bean growing tower. I love these because you can just put those directly into the ground. And then what we do, we plant a pole bean along each one of those strings there, and it just grows up and it takes over like that entire little tower. It is amazing. We actually used these last year in our garden, and we're going to use them again this season too. So we already have them all set up and ready to go. I'm excited. And then I will say too that these tomato cages from Park Seed are probably my favorite ones that we've ever used. They are just a lot stronger, more durable, withstand our Oklahoma weather because the other ones have definitely fallen apart for us before in the past, but these ones are just super durable and heavy duty. And one of the great things too about these is that they actually will like come apart and collapse down flat for storage. So that way they're not just like sitting out in the elements all winter long, and makes it a lot simpler.
I feel like I need to get one of those then because all the cages I have are just stacked outside on my deck. Because yeah, we don't have a ton of space inside to store the garden stuff. I don't have a shed. We have a garage. We have to carry stuff down. So most of my garden stuff just gets left out there. So anything that collapses down is a lot easier for me to find a place for winter.
For sure. Yeah. And these, I mean, they're so easy too. Like you just take them off and just, yeah, arrange them and they go flat. So it's great. Okay. So Tyler says, do you need to support veggies in vertical growing? If so, what are good materials to use? That's a great question. So it really depends again on what you're going to be growing vertical. The only thing that we've really had to worry about supporting is when we have done things like watermelon, like things that we're trying to grow that are a little bit bigger. Then we do need to support them. But for the most part, things like loofah, cucumber, beans, all of those, we don't ever do any sort of support for those. What about you,
Yeah,
Bethany? Do you ever?
melons either.
You don't?
Other than cages, like I'll have my tomato cages for my tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, but no extra support for the fruit itself except for melons.
Gotcha. Yeah, again, that so it sounds like we're about the same then. You can do all sorts of things then to support. I know people that have used like pantyhose to
Yes,
help
that's
secure.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be your easiest like DIY solution for supporting things like melons and cantaloupes, pumpkins, even I guess, if you're growing them vertically. Now, if I ever have anything that is really large, then I will not do them vertically, just because I'm worried that they will not support it as well. And then Parkseed does actually have these melon cradles that you can use too for supporting them and for keeping them off of the ground as well. So that will help to protect your fruit as you're growing your melons as well. I saw this. That's a funny comment. Can you still buy pantyhose? Honestly, I imagine so. I mean, I just had a whole bunch in the back of my closet from when I was younger, so I don't know.
The same. I remember growing up, I had like a color for every outfit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I had always had a whole bunch, but I imagine that there's probably you can probably still buy them, I imagine. I don't know. Maybe some thrift stores or something. Walmart, I bet, has everything, right? So Ashley says, I reuse any mesh type packaging that's usually in on oranges or onions. That's great suggestion as well. Like, way to be resourceful. Old T-shirts that I cut into strips for tomato hammocks. I love it. Yeah, that's great DIY advice. I love it. Okay. Oh, and then, okay, so this is in our yard. We have this up against the fence line that we have, and we are growing strawberries in these smart pots. These are our wallflowers, and these are actually the ones that we're going to be giving away. Not these ones, obviously, but that style, the wallflowers are what we're going to be giving away at the end from smart pots. And I've been loving them so much. We have right here, these ones are growing strawberries in them, and then we also have some that are growing like some different, we have like thyme and oregano and things like that. They're kind of growing around and out and trailing down. So it's really pretty. I'm excited about how this is going to look here in just a few short weeks. It's going to be amazing.
I love strawberries because they can fit into so many like tiny little spaces in my garden. I can tuck them in anywhere.
Yeah, and I love this little pipe thing that Dale actually made this. It was so cool. He took this big PVC pipe and then drilled some holes in it. And then we have a strawberry plant too in each little hole there as well. And it's going to give us like it gave us a whole bunch of planting area right there in just like a little tiny space.
That's
And
so cool.
he did like he drilled some holes down below so that way it drained out. And then he has like burlap like on the side so that way it's holding the soil in. But besides that, I mean, it was super simple and yeah, it's awesome. Any advice on good fertilizer for strawberries? So their espoma is going to be my favorite fertilizer pretty much for everything. They have a fertilizer for everything at espoma. They also have an all-purpose that you can use, but then there's also a fruit and berry one that's a really good option for strawberries, and you can just put it in. It's just really easy to mix into the soil or place it right on top. Oh, yep, there it is. Thank
Yep.
you.
That's the one I use too, if I'm not out and then have to use the generic plant tone that they offer. But yeah, it is funny. They really do have a fertilizer bag for almost every plant.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I use this one all the time, and then also the tomato one a lot too. Okay. Oh, and then I had to talk about growing towers too. These are really fun. I don't. Have you ever used growing towers, Bethany?
I haven't. I've been nervous again about the wind and the height of those, but I have
Yeah.
heard from other people that it would be okay. So this might be in my future. There's a pink one now I saw too. So
I know. Dale actually just bought that for me this morning because
really?
he saw it come up and he was like, "You have to have this." I was like,
Oh,
"I
it's
do.
so
It's
good.
pink, my favorite color." Yeah, anything pink and purple, I'm always excited about. So they drew me in with yet another purchase. So
Yep, exactly. You need to collect all the colors now.
oh, yeah. So the one over here, this blue one, is the green stock one, and that one is super nice. It's pretty tall. I'd say it's like what is it, 5 feet tall ish, around that, maybe somewhere around there. And then they have pretty good size containers there, and then the top has this watering area where you just put water, and then it just rains all around. It's amazing and super simple. I love these green sock towers. And also, for those of you, hint hint, who are on this live stream, we are going to be doing a giveaway with Greenstock this weekend. So make sure that you guys are following our social medias, so that way you'll hear our announcement of our contest that we're going to be doing for a giveaway. It's going to be exciting. Um, and then also, so over here we have a picture of another, just this one isn't a green stock, it's just a generic growing tower that we have, and it's quite a bit shorter. I mean, you can get these anywhere. Like these ones right here are, I mean, I think we ordered these off of Amazon, but we you can get them at Dollar Tree as well. And these ones are quite a bit shorter and smaller, and the watering is definitely not as easy, but I mean, it still works and it's pretty cool. I love growing vertical, so we had to try these out too. So Faith says, I have these for my strawberries. They're so beautiful, but also beneficial for being able to keep all your strawberries in a small place. Absolutely. We actually planted out one of our green stalk towers full of strawberries as well. I feel like we have a green stalk tower for everything now because we just keep, every time they get a new color in, we're like, oh, we need to try this color. We keep getting drawn in for another one. But it's exciting. We have like a lettuce one, we have an herb one, and then a strawberry one. It's exciting. Kristen says, I have these, but they need to have access to sun all around them. We have lettuces in ours currently growing outside in Massachusetts. Okay, so I will say we have on, if you can see at the bottom of this one, on this picture, we have them on like little wheel platforms. So we just go out there. I mean, even if you don't have it on a wheel platform, they're pretty easy just to turn around and rotate. And we do that because we have these up against a wall, like underneath our patio. So it doesn't get sun on all sides of it. So we just go through like every day or every other day and just kind of rotate it around. And it's not hard to do at all. So that's how we handle it.
Yeah, that's another thing. I am glad that I put wheels on some of my pots because the sun does come from one side. So sometimes I'll
Mhm.
get uneven growth. So I'm just trying to remember to turn it throughout the week.
Yeah, exactly. And whenever you just notice there's this, just start turn it around.
Yep.
Super easy, especially with having the wheels on it. It makes it a lot easier too because I don't have to put any effort at all. I just boop,
Yep.
move it around. Um. Okay. Yeah. And then so these are Bethany's vertical growing that she has on her rooftop. So pretty.
Yeah. So the one on the left, I think it's sold more to put bouquets in because they're the white buckets and there weren't any drainage holes. So I did have to drill those because, again, the rain that we get here would just waterlog them if there was no drainage. So I drill holes, filled them up with soil, and I desperately needed color in my garden. So I got some like pre sprouted bulbs and flowers from the garden center and just filled it up. Maybe it was last week or the week before. And it's so nice to come outside and see some colorful flowers because most of what I've planted so far hasn't flowered yet. So I have some that are a little bit ahead, and there are wheels on that one too. So I can move it around the deck. I do tend to move, other than like my raised beds, my pots relatively frequently, especially at the beginning, because I might think that'll fit in that spot. And then as I add more plants, I'm like, well, actually I need to shift this over and move this here, or this doesn't like the amount of sun it's getting, so I have to move this over here. So having wheels on that has been very, very nice. And then that's my little herb garden on the right. I use 8-inch terracotta pots, which those I have to bring inside over winter, but I really like the look of them. So that's why I use them. And I have them on this stair planter or stair plant shelving unit. It was from Gardener Supply. And then I also have plant stands on the sides that I think I just found on Amazon. You can kind of tell in the photo, but I do have drip set up. I try to get drip irrigation set up to as much as possible, especially smaller pots, because those are going to dry out a lot faster. So I do have irrigation set up to those pots so that it can run automatically, which is really nice. Again, especially if we are out of town on the weekends. Some of my herbs would probably like to be in slightly larger containers, but they work pretty well for the most part in the 8-inch size pots.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. Oh, and I thought these pictures were awesome because you do so much and you're so creative with your inside space that you have as well. So I love that maybe you don't have the hugest yard, but you can still do so many things inside too. I think that's
So
cool.
many. So I've actually been surprised by the amount of flowers I can produce throughout the season. And just most of the flowers I grow are cut and come again, so I can keep harvesting, like zinnias. I had China asters that I really love, gomphrena. So in that flower heart wreath, all of those are flowers that I dried from my garden that year. And I give away flower bouquets. I give away dried flowers. Like I have so many that I can't even use them all myself. So I didn't expect that when I, don't have a ton of space, especially compared to other gardeners that I know, but how much I can really produce in that small space has been surprising. And on the right, that's just a little propagation station I made with candelabra that I found at a thrift store and some test tubes. But again, kind of getting the things on the wall, vertical space to propagate my plants so I don't have jars, spread out everywhere.
Nice. So how long does that heart wreath last?
I still have it. I keep it inside. Inside
So
of our direct sun. Yeah, and I just made it in the winter. But most of my dried, like I still have dried flowers from 2 or 3 seasons ago that I just have kind of around. The color does fade a little bit, and over time they kind of start to break down, but I can get just a couple years out of them inside.
that's amazing. So how do you do that?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know her name off the top of my head. There's an Instagrammer I saw who does those floral wreaths. She basically takes a wreath form, and I think she usually makes her wreath form. I did not. And then wraps it with chicken wire, and then you just weave the flowers through it. So when I saw that, I was like, I need to do that. It's easier too, or at least I think it's easier than like the traditional wrapping around the wreath form. Like this was a lot faster to do. It was a little bit less messy, and I like the look of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. How did you dry the flowers? Because I need to do that more this year too, because I'm growing a lot more flowers.
So you can just hang them upside down anywhere. Because I dry so many, I actually have curtain rods that I just got on Amazon drilled into my wall. So like on a part of a wall where you wouldn't hang curtains, I have 3 curtain rods and I just tie the flowers upside down with some twine and hang them on the curtains. It looks really pretty, especially when it's filled with flowers.
Yeah.
It's like having art on my wall. Some people do wonder why there's just rods hanging there for no reason, but then they see once I dry the flowers. But yeah, that's what I found to be like the easiest. It still kind of looked pretty, but before that, I would just hang them on literally any surface I could find.
Awesome. How long do you have to hang them for?
I usually leave mine hanging until I'm ready to use them. And because I'm so busy during the garden season, that usually doesn't happen till like fall or winter. So most of them will hang there for a few months. But for example, with my herbs, I'll hang them in the same place. Usually about a month, I'm ready to start using them. So I would say about a month, they're probably ready to go. I just leave them there because they look pretty.
Yeah, they are. Oh, and I thought this was so cool. Yeah, so this is the close up on what you were talking about, that candelabra. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so I was looking for ways to propagate plants that again didn't look just like a bunch of jars sitting on a table and looked a little bit prettier. So I found this candelabra at like a thrift store, so maybe 10, 20 bucks. And then I measured the holder part where the candles would typically go and then found test tubes that were the same diameter and then just hot glued them. And I hot glued them once and it's been 3 years now. And I take it like off the wall to empty the water and none of the test tubes have ever fallen out. So
So great. I
yeah.
love this so much. I'm always so inspired by your Instagram.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's great. So the left is where I just had like some flowers in there to look pretty, and then the right is when I'm propagating cuttings from my house plants to then make more house plants.
I love it.
I love
Oh,
these.
yes. So I will say I had to make sure that I pulled a picture of this because of you, we ended up buying these too, so we could have some sort of color on our stairs. I love.
Yeah. Yeah, these are the company is called Plant Traps, and they have two products that I think were both specifically made for like vertical balcony type gardening. But then this product specifically that you can't see because it has a plant on it is called Railscapes, but it's just like a metal wire that has some wire on the bottom, and the tension goes in between railings. And then you can put, I think it's like up to 15 pounds. So don't put anything too heavy in it or else it'll slide down. But now so I use these inside all year round for my house plants. And then we do have a gate that I'll use it in during the garden season, just as more places to put plants. So they do work both indoors and outdoors. Oh, but if you're going to do indoors, make sure there's a saucer under your plant for when you water.
Yes, we did learn that. We do
Yeah.
we do have sausage under ours. Yeah, it works so good. Yeah, we have several of them. We have like 5 or 6 of them all along a railing that we have. It's amazing. I love them.
Yeah, I love finding new things to put plants where I couldn't put plants before.
Exactly. I love it. And I do feel like having green inside because it
Yes.
is so like it's so dead in like in the middle of the winter. I love having as much green and colors and all that inside as possible. So I love these ideas.
Yeah, it makes me feel a lot happier seeing this, when it's getting dark at 4 p.m. in the middle of winter.
Yes, yes, exactly. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about containers with soil. And so we do all of our own container mix and we make what's called Mel's Mix, which is from Square Foot Gardening. And it is super easy to make. It is just one third compost, one third vermiculite, and then one third coconut coir or peat moss. And then you just mix all that up together. And that's what we use for our containers. It works really well. And then, of course, I do want to mention Espoma fertilizer. I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but Espoma fertilizer seriously is the best fertilizer if you're going to go about fertilizing as well, and it can help with your plants significantly. Bethany, what do you use for your soil mix?
Oh my gosh. So I usually get potting soil every year, but I can't, because one of the questions I get asked the most, especially for my raised beds, is do you completely empty out the soil every year? And I don't, because there's nowhere it could go. Like I can't even imagine if I ever had to empty out the raised beds, what I would do with all that soil. So if it's in a larger pot, I leave it and then I will just refresh it by adding like compost, granular fertilizer, and then perlite for drainage. If it's in a smaller pot, what I do is I dump out all the soil. Unless there was like some sort of disease with the plant, that soil I will get rid of. But if everything was fine, I dump the soil into like a large tote box from Home Depot. I pour that in there. And then in the spring, I again add in compost and fertilizer and then perlite to that as well, and then refill my pots. And I've been doing that now since 2020 when we moved here, and I haven't had any issues. Like my plants grow fine every year, which is great because if I had to empty out everything, I don't think I could garden the way that I do.
We never empty out anything. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty much we are just, this is our base of whenever we are making soil. And then once we go about planting, if we need to add more, typically we sometimes we add more of the ingredients, but typically it's topping it off with some fresh compost, like you said. If we need any of the other ingredients, we might add in a little bit, but the compost after we've already used it and built it is typically what we're always refreshing every growing season.
Yeah, that's one thing going gardening on a rooftop deck. I do have to think about like everything has to be carried up and then everything has to be carried down and then where are
Yeah,
things going to go. So
that is a great point.
yeah, but it's a good exercise. I can tell in the spring when I'm carrying soil bags up how weak I am, but by like the end of the season, I'm strong.
I love it. That's funny. I love it. It's a good workout.
It is.
Okay, I wanted to mention a few specific varieties that I absolutely love. These are actually my first year growing a lot of these. Park Seed carries this Kitchen Minis, and it is amazing. It has they have a red velvet cherry tomato, which is cool. Oh, I said, oh, oops, I forgot to change the name over there too. Um, Sorry about that, guys. It's called a Siam though. Yeah. And then they grow like a foot or two tall, and that's it. It's amazing. We have several of these planted in our kitchen and on a windowsill, and then also several just like on a ledge in these 1 gallon smart pots. They're super tiny, super cute, and they're on just a ledge of our window in our sunroom, and it's amazing. I'm so excited. But yeah, we're hoping too that we'll be able to grow tomatoes like year round by doing it this way, by being able to have them like inside because they're so small. We should hopefully be able to keep them going. I will keep you all updated. I'm very excited to try them. And then there's so many of these same ones for peppers. So there is a hot variety, a hot pepper, and then there's some sweet peppers for red, orange, and yellow. So all different colors. I love it. And these again are really small. They are just about a foot tall, and they will grow great in just a little tiny small pot in your kitchen. And we have them in a 1 gallon smart pot, and ours are thriving so far. I'm excited to keep giving you guys updates. And then I wanted to pull out a few other varieties. Like there's so many of the patio varieties that you can grow, and these ones are really great. There's a patio snacker cucumber, which only grows to about 3 to 5 feet. So just a small little trellis, and you can grow them vertically in a container on a patio or porch or a deck. And then the patio pride peas, super tiny also. I mean, it says 18 to 24 inches. It's awesome. So you can
Yeah,
grow, yeah, that's awesome. Are they doing well for you so far?
they are. They're just poking through the soil, or maybe I'm looking at them out the window. Maybe they're about like 2 inches right now, but I'm so excited. I grew them last fall as well and then started another round this spring. But I love all of the compact sizes because that just means I can fit more into my garden.
Yes, exactly. And all of these, both of these varieties will do great growing vertically too. So just a small little pot and then have just like a little tiny trellis and they'll do their thing. It's great. Is fertilizer a must for vegetable growing if I have good soil already? Um, Personally, I would say, I mean, it's great that you have good soil, but I would recommend still using it, especially espoma, because it will give you just a lot more nutrients into your plants, especially for veggies or fruits or anything like that you're growing. And then I will say our app has specifics about how often to go about fertilizing a lot of these. Do you fertilize once a year? Okay, yes. So our app will have there's a section in there and under the plant details for each one of the plants. So if you're growing peas, for example, you can go to peas in the app and scroll down to the plant details, and it'll tell you how often and with what to fertilize as well. So sometimes it'll say make sure it's a nitrogen base, sometimes it'll say phosphorus, sometimes all purpose. So it'll give you a little bit more details in there.
Yeah, and
How
I'll
big?
say too, sorry, for growing in containers, I definitely have to fertilize more often, usually with like liquid fertilizer throughout the season. Even if I have a plant that traditionally it says will grow great in poor soil, if it's in a small pot, I mean, that's nutrients are just leaching out of that super fast. So I'll even fertilize things in a pot that I probably wouldn't fertilize, or at least not as often, if I was able to grow them in the ground.
So we did have a question. How big of a pot do the minis need? So we're actually trying ours in a 1 gallon smart pot. Now, of course, the bigger that you can fit, the better that they will do because they'll have more soil, more nutrients to pull on, more water source. So, they will thrive in like a 3 to 5 gallon as well if you have space for that. But we are attempting to grow ours in 1 gallon also, and just to see how much we can get away with here. We're testing everything out for you.
That's what I feel like container gardening is, just how small can I get away with?
Exactly. Okay, how do you pollinate them inside the kitchen? So you can go through and use the Q-tip method, or you can just give them a little bit of shake. I know people have talked about talking and singing to your plants as well. But we will also be having a fan going in there. We have a fan pretty much everywhere that we seed start or that we have standing plants. We have just like these, either a fan set up next to them blowing, and that will help with the pollination as well. Yes, patio veggies. You definitely do need to try them. You can find a lot of these at Park Seed. All of the ones that we did and that we talked about today are available at Park Seed, and we have them we have them in our themes also. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's one of our newer things that we have in the app. It's really cool. So on the main screen on the dashboard, if you're scrolling down, you'll see themes, and you can go through and it'll give you like patio themes. There's also like a rainbow colored theme garden and pizza gardens, herb gardens, things like that. So we do have a special one for patio veggies as well in there. It's called Small Space Oasis is actually what it's called, but I'm sure you guys would have figured it out. Okay, a little bit about, that's a great suggestion. I use an old electric toothbrush to pollinate tomatoes.
That's a good idea.
I love it. Yeah. How much is this at? So our From Seed to Spoon app is completely free for all of the information parts of it. So you can view all of the planting dates for your location. You can view pest management and companion plants and that and so much more. Fertilizer details, everything that we've talked about too is free. You do have to pay for the logging of plants. So if you wanted to keep track of the plants that you have going in your garden, and keep track of things like that and watering. You can keep track of all of that. She says she's amazed at how many themes we come up with. She wants to plant them all. I love it. That's cool. I feel the same way. I want to plant every single one of the themes that we have. Okay. I figure we could take a few minutes and talk a little bit about watering. I know you did touch briefly a little bit already. I heard you mentioning that you have drip irrigation set up.
I do, yes. I started that maybe the second year that I was gardening, and it made such a difference in the amount of time that I had to spend watering, because now usually it's done watering before I even get up into the garden every day, which is nice. But then the peace of mind when, again, we're gone for the weekend and I know that my garden is going to be watered is great. The only like issues I'd say I'd have is if I have drip set up to a larger pot versus smaller pots, I might run two different lines because one might need to be watered more frequently than others that need to be watered less frequently. So pot size definitely determines the frequency that I have it set up, but it's just made gardening a lot easier. It saves me so much time.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely going to be looking at trying to set up some irrigation for a lot of our pots that we have as well this year. So we're definitely going to be doing that. But as of right now, we just go through and hand water, or we do have an overhead sprinkler too. But obviously, if you have small space, like that's not going to be, you're not going
Yeah,
to be doing with sprinkler.
exactly. Yeah, it's an easier task, I feel like, too, because I think irrigation can be a bit overwhelming. But when you're just working with like a small space or a deck, it doesn't really take that long to get set up. So yeah, I think a lot of the tasks are easier for me because I don't have to do as much of it as somebody who has like a large yard.
For sure. Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
have a hose because there are things that need to be watered like more regularly. If it's super hot, then the irrigation runs. Or if I mean, I use a hose almost every day if I'm planting something up for the first time and want to water it. So I have like half of it is drip, and then the other half is my hose, the little splitter on our faucet.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we typically do. I mean, whenever we go out there, we check our containers by just sticking a finger into, and then if our finger, like I just down to the knuckle, and if our finger is a little bit moist, then we're good to go. If it's dry, then we water.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and I have one of the like smart timers. So I can control it from my phone, and you can
oh,
set it up so if it rains. But if I know like, oh, I only need to do it every 3 days, I can set that up. Or if it has to be every day because it's over 100 degrees out here, then I know that
whew,
I can adjust that too. So that's been nice.
yeah, that's great. Yeah, and we do have a section too on watering in the app that under the plant details. It's right there with fertilizing. It says how often you should be watering, like all of the specific plants that we have in there too. And I do see a question we have. Does the app have information on container gardening? Yes. So we actually have a section, again, under the plant details. Wow, everything's under plant details today. Down there that we talk about what size smart pots to use, essentially, because we love our smart pots. And so it talks about what size gallon would be best for that specific plant. So it'll recommend either like a 3 gallon, 5 gallon, all the way up to like 20, 25 gallon pots for like the bigger, like fruit trees and things like that. Okay. That was what I had right there. And then I will point out too, if you guys haven't checked out Growbot before, Growbot is both a standalone app in the iOS store, so you can download Growbot in Apple, and you can ask Growbot as many questions as you want to. It's all trained on all the gardening information, which is amazing. And then Growbot is also available in the From Seed to Spoon app. So if you guys have any gardening questions at all, you can go in and ask Growbot any of your questions that you may have.
Yeah, I love your app. I started using it before I knew anything about gardening, and it was so helpful. And then even now, when I luckily have learned some stuff since I started, it's still just as helpful. And I think it's because of all the new like releases that you put into it. So I still use it just as much as I did when I knew nothing and was trying to learn about when to plant things outside.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, I mean, I still use it all the time myself too, because I can't remember when to plant everything. Like, I definitely can't remember everything, so I
Yeah.
always.
I think I'll remember where I planted something, but I know I won't. So I need to log it in the app because I will forget.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yep. Looking up friends and enemies as you transplanted out. Yeah, Michelle, you and me both. I'm always looking up friends and enemies, trying to remember. I'm like, oh wait, can I plant this next to each other? Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you're enjoying it and it's working good for you. Yay. Okay, what size smart pot would I use for a blackberry plant? I would recommend probably doing somewhere around like a 20 gallon, maybe. You could try going smaller, like a 10 to 15 as well, but again, you're just gonna need to water it a little bit more. Um, but honestly, yeah, you can grow it anywhere between those sizes. Oh, well, here's a question for you, Bethany.
Oh, okay.
Propagating spider plants?
Ooh, I have before, but it's been a while. But the spider plants, they make like little babies that come off of the pot. So you just cut those off. And then I always do water propagation. For me, that's just been the easiest. So then you just put in some water until the roots grow, or you can leave it on the plant and then put it in a new pot while it's still connected. You can do this with strawberries too, with the runners.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was
then,
thinking. That
yeah,
sounds just like strawberries.
yep. And then once it starts to root in, then you can disconnect it from the parent plant. But yeah, those are one of the, I would say, the easiest house plants to propagate. Those and pothos plants, I've always had really good luck with.
I love it. Can I grow companion plants in the same container bag? Will the bag size change? Absolutely, you can. Yeah, I mean, we grow. A lot of times, we take one of the larger smart pots, and again, I will say you probably will want to up the size a little bit. But we take like a 20-gallon smart pots, and we'll plant a tomato in there alongside of either like one or two marigolds or a nasturtium or some basil, something along those lines. And you can definitely fit a lot, like several ones in there. And yeah, they'll do amazing.
Yeah, I do that exact same combination. I have my tomatoes, marigolds, nasturtium, and basil all in.
Yeah.
I think it's 30-gallon or 25-gallon that I have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Those are all great companions. For watering, I'm having trouble figuring out how often to get germination going. Okay, so for germinating, whenever you're germinating seeds, you want to make sure to keep everything moist. So make sure whenever I'm germinating seeds, pretty much I'm out there every day, trying just to make sure that they will get going, and then you can kind of back off a little bit. But until they germinate, make sure you keep it moist. Okay. We have just a couple minutes left. So let's go ahead and announce a couple winners. So we have two winners for our 1-year free premium from Seed to Spoon app subscription, which will give you unlimited plants to log in your garden, and then also free shipping too on all of your orders through the app through Park Seed. And there's countless things. So you'll get that. And then we are also giving away some smart pots. Thank you to Smart Pots for doing a giveaway too. We're going to be giving away some of the Smart Pots wallflowers, and then the smaller Smart Pots. Yep, right there. Okay, so do we have winners selected? Okay, Latoya Evans, congratulations. Make sure to email us at info@seedtospoon.net, and we will get you set up. And then number 2, Patty, congratulations. Again, email us, both of you guys, at info@seedtospoon.net, and we will get you set up for both the premium app subscription and the Smart Pots also. Well, great. We have like 2 minutes left. Do we have any other last minute questions? Okay. Talking about watering from the bottom up to reduce root rot. Do you suggest this? So honestly, I mean, if you use smart pots, you're not really going to have to deal with root rot. It's going to it'll drain everything for you. It's not going to be waterlogged or anything like that. So I always just recommend definitely use smart pots because it will help reduce so many issues that you have in your garden. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you so much, Bethany, for joining us.
Having
And
me.
yeah, make sure you all go check her out. She is known as the ChicagoGardener on Instagram. Are you on any other platforms too?
I'm on Instagram and YouTube. I have TikTok, but I feel like slightly too old to understand TikTok as well. But Instagram and YouTube, I'm definitely the most active on.
Okay, great. Well, I know I'm all the time checking you out on Instagram. So I know I definitely go on there a lot and get ideas for especially inside gardening. And yeah, it's so inspirational. As you guys all saw, like it's gorgeous. Everything that she does with the inside and her rooftop, it's incredible.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And again, we'll be here same time, same place next week and talking all about everything gardening. So looks like we have one more. Will you be adding more edible flowers or plants for tea? Yes. So I am nonstop adding in new flowers. I've been adding in a lot of new flowers. So Bethany, hopefully you'll like this. There's been a lot of new ones added this past week, and then I'm going to be going and adding even more. I'm trying to add in several as much as I can, like all the time, nonstop. So if you guys do have any specific recommendations or things that you want to see in the app, let me know. You can either post it in the comments right here or message me on social. We're on Instagram as well. You guys can message us there, and let us know what you want us to add next. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you all hopefully next week. See you guys.